All right, welcome guys, Big Muscle again. We're on the hustle again, and now we're gonna get a brief history from one of our moderators here at the Barber Motorsport Museum. And there's a lot of motorcycles, as you can see, and with his permission, we can record, and he's gonna give us some insights. So just listening and what he has to say about this beautiful museum. Go ahead, sir.
Why don't we walk this way? I'm going to take you over to the very...
Do you mind being on camera?
Oh, no.
Okay, cool. As long as you don't mind.
Not at all. I'm going to take you over here to the very first motorcycle in the collection.
Okay. And you said your name is?
I'm PJ.
PJ.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Big Muscle meets
Nice
PJ.
to meet you.
Okay,
now,
cool.
Mr. Barber raced Porsches SCCA from 1960 up to 1970.
Right.
His day job was he ran the transportation shop where they did all the repair and work on all the fleet of delivery vehicles. So one thing, he is just an unmitigated gearhead. He loves machinery of all kinds. And if you look around here, you'll see quite a few things. We've got boat motors, we've got aircraft motors.
And I saw a lawnmower.
We have got Maytag washing machine motors. So anyway, when he had to take over the running of the company from his father, that ended his racing SCCA.
Okay.
For the next 10 years or so, he began collecting a few cars and storing them downtown at the old truck shop in the back there. He was speaking with one of his friends, the gentleman who was running the truck shop at that time, about wanting to start a collection.
Okay.
And, you know, basically what happened is he said, I'll never have the best Porsche or you know, one of the other major manufacturers. There's too many people that's got way too big a head start.
Yeah.
And a friend said Dave Cooper suggested have you a Harley motorcycle. Well, no, we can't. Dave gave him his first motorcycle. Dave had restored this. Dave used to race motocross when he was a kid, and he had begun to restore motorcycles. Now, this is a Victoria Bird.
So you're saying this is the first motorcycle that
Very
was
first
owned
motorcycle.
by Mr. Barber?
Very first
cool.
motorcycle. Dave gave him this motorcycle. It is a high-quality German motorcycle of the 50s. I think Victoria went up into the early 60s.
Okay.
But it is a very beautiful piece of machinery. And Mr. Barber, being the machine head he is, fell in love with the ability to see all the things that made it work.
Okay.
So this is where it started. Over the next few years or so, he accumulated quite a number of motorcycles. Now, one thing that's different, because he was not a motorcyclist himself, he had no preferences to a certain country or a certain brand. That's generally how they start.
Right.
He bought whatever appealed to him. And saying that, we have a huge collection of European small bore machines.
I noticed that.
Things you just don't look for in the United States.
Yeah.
So, Beam Foods bought the dairies in 1993-4. Since they had an empty building at his collection downtown, what they did is cleaned up the truck shop. He donated his collection and set up an endowment, and that was the first museum. They were down on 28th Street and 5th Avenue South until we moved out here in 2004.
So that was in Birmingham?
That's in Birmingham, yes,
Okay,
sir.
cool.
So now we're in the motorsports park, 880 acres.
Including all we're seeing in the back where the Porsches race?
All this.
Okay, cool.
We are in the very bottom corner. If you look at the map up on the wall and come to the front doors, you'll see how small we are compared to the rest of the park.
The size of the park, okay.
We do, Porsche runs the track about 175 days a year for their schools. We have track days. We have the manufacturers who rent the track to develop models.
Right.
We have 6 major festivals a year. It's a very, very busy track.
What festivals do you have here? That's important for people to understand also.
We have the Barber Historics. That's the vintage sports cars. Our biggest festivals of the year are, we have the IndyCar Festival, which runs a whole lot more vehicles other than Indy cars, but it's a 3-day weekend. And the last time I think we had 14 races over 3 days. Then we have our largest motorcycle festival is the Vintage Bike Weekend. We're still not up to the pre-COVID numbers,
Right.
but it is quite a large festival. This year we didn't have as many people from Asia or from Europe as we normally will, but we're probably better known in a lot of sections of Europe than we are in the full surrounding counties.
Right.
It is a huge draw, and it's just a ball to have all these people on here. They're racing vintage motorcycles all weekend long. It's a great time.
Right time to look at. So where can people find this more in-depth information about the times they keep the sports, the types of sports? There's a website present.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
If you go out to the Barber Motor Museum website, you'll see it there, and there are any number of links to the different people who put on the races and things like that.
Okay.
Now, the museum itself here, we are a 501c nonprofit.
Okay.
The rest of the park is run by Zoo Motorsports, which is a for-profit entity. But it's, like I said, it's 880 acres of fun that used to be a strip mall.
So now, this information can also, you guys are active on the social media platforms like
Yes.
YouTube,
Yes. If you just go out
Twitter.
there and take a look, you look for Barber's Motorsports.
You'll find everything there.
And you will find it.
Good. Because most of the times what you find, like you said, people who live overseas was probably more searching for the information than those that live it. Because we pass it every day, you know.
Yes.
You
Yep.
could just
Yep.
stop by.
You know, it's in
whatever.
your backyard.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get there someday.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I plan on. I was like, okay, let me stop and see. So I thought I was just gonna take about, an hour and a half, tops, 2 hours, and just walk through this place. Come to find out that's not the case. It's much more than that. And I would strongly recommend that any person, if you're just an avid motorcycle person or just a museum goer, I would strongly recommend you come out and see this. It's worth it. Mind blowing.
Yeah, we do a lot of educational programs with kids too. We do the scouting engineering badges and things like that. Even if you're not a motorsports fan, just coming in, and especially we're down on the first floor that leads out to the track. But this is an era mostly from the late 30s all the way in the 50s and early 60s, and these things are art. They
Yeah,
weren't
it
just
really is.
transportation. They
No,
were
art.
form and function.
Art and engineering.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
And I noticed they're well kept.
This building was built specifically to be a motorsports museum.
Okay.
We run a constant humidity, a constant temperature here
Okay.
that helps keep the vehicles. We have a filtration system on the air conditioning, which does a great deal to avoid dust,
Right.
even down to the material that we used in the floor. This is polished concrete,
Yeah.
so you don't have the problems with normal floor coverings or concrete itself.
Right,
And
or
this is
carpet
slick.
or-
It doesn't generate or hold dust. Another thing is, if you'll notice, anytime you walk into the building from one of the outside doors,
Right.
when you open the door, you get a blast of air in there. We run a higher pressure inside the building to prevent dust and things, pollen, whatever, from coming in. So it makes it a great deal easier for us to keep the motorcycles clean. It takes less than you would expect. The only ones that are really big problem with dust are the ones on the columns on the elevator.
Yeah.
Because you have to bring in a scissors lift that'll take you up about 60 feet to get the dust.
Right. Okay. This is pretty nice, man.